Hey guys, so in today's video I wanted to make a full guide on the Trial of the Sekhemas. If you're looking for a quick strategy on how to easily finish the third and fourth floor of the trial, check the links on the description. I'm gonna leave a strategy guide in there, as well as a full walkthrough run using the strategy. So the Trial of the Sekhemas is one of the two Trial of Ascension in Path of Exile 2. If you complete the first floor of the Trial of the Sekhemas, you are able to select your ascension, and you're also rewarded 2 ascendancy points. If you want to unlock more ascendancy points, then you can complete the floor 2, 3, and 4 in order to get 2 ascendancy points for each floor. To enter the trial, you need to use one of these coins, a Jin Baraya. Each coin can have from 1 to 4 floors, and it depends on the item level. So to enter, you have to place your coin into the relic altar, where you can place your relics as well, and then you hit confirm.
Nothing will stop us.
Once you enter, you will notice that now you have a bar at the bottom of your screen. It contains your honor, which is basically a second life bar, and if it reaches 0, you will fail the trial. Another thing you have in this bar is the sacred water, which is some kind of currency you have during your run. It can be used to activate certain things and also to trade with the merchant that appears at the end of each floor and at the end of some rooms. You also have the keys you have collected up until now. You always start with 0 keys, and they can be used in order to open some chests at the end of each floor. On the right side, you can find the objective of the current room you are in. In this case, I have to survive until the timer expires. Every time you complete a room in the Trial of the Sekhemas, you will get a special reward, as well as the chance to interact with the trial map and select the next room you want to travel to. Keep in mind that this is not the map of the entire trial, but just the first floor, or the current floor you are in. So now you have to take a decision and select the next room you want to travel to. If you want to take this decision, you can hover over the room, and the big yellow title will tell you what kind of room you are going to enter to. This means what kind of challenge you need to complete. You can also see the reward of a room by looking at the icon or reading the blue label that's below the title. One more thing to keep in mind when selecting a room is that all the rooms with a purple border like this one also contain an affliction. In this case, this one has Honed Claws, which makes monster deal 30% more damage, as the grey label at the bottom says. So the last thing you have to keep in mind is that once you select a room and then enter to it, you are not going to be able to go back. And after you complete it, you can only travel to the rooms that are connected to it. So as you traverse the floor, you will notice that all the other arrows will start turning from yellow to red to indicate that you can no longer reach those rooms. Okay, so that's about it, about the general idea on how to progress through the Sanctum. Now I'll go over through different concepts that are relevant. The first thing is that, as you might have noticed, when I put the coin into the altar, you get to select some relics. These relics basically give you different bonuses that are persistent through the entire trial. These are basically just items that can be crafted as well. The only thing that you have to keep in mind is that they can only be magic, so they can only have 2 affixes. In this case, I have one that has only 1 affix. So what I can do is I can actually use an orb of augmentation in order to get a new affix. Another thing you can do with relics is that if you have 3 relics that are not very useful, you can always go to the reforging bench and mix them to get different unidentified relic. So as of now, there seems to be an issue though. It seems like tapestry relics of conquest and these ones that are longer than 3 I mean they are 3 slots or wider. For some reason, you cannot put them on the reforging bench, so you can only put these ones that are 2 slots wide, and then the vertical ones. So not sure if it's a bug, and if it is, maybe by the time you see this, it's going to be fixed. So if you want to mix these ones, you can probably also try by then. The amount of relics you can place on the Sanctum depend basically on the number of floors you have completed, right? The first time you complete a floor, you get more relic spaces. Yeah, depending on how many you can place, try to focus first on resolve resistance. So whenever you are picking up some relics, there are multiple bonuses you can take, but one of the best ones right now is actually honor resistance. And the reason why is because by capping it to 75%, you can actually reduce all the incoming damage to your honor to just a quarter. Basically multiplying your effective honor by 4. So say for example, if you were to take 100 damage to your honor and you have your honor resistant cap to 75%, you will only take 25 of that damage to your actual honor. And what is so cool about this is that you are basically multiplying your effective honor by 4. And another great benefit of this is that whenever you recover honor, that recovery you are getting is also multiplied by 4 practically. So compare as if you try to scale your maximum honor using relics like this one, for example, right? Because the more honor you have, the less effective are the recovery effects you get through the run. So if you're struggling with the trial, make sure that you get honor resistance. Now I will talk about the sacred water, which is the currency of the trial. And this currency can be used in order to venerate Maraket shrines, and it can also be used to purchase boons and relics from Valvala, which can show up in specific merchant rooms or after you finish each floor of the trial. The last thing you can do with the sacred water is that you can, if you reach the end of the trial, the very end, you can actually exchange all the remaining sacred water you have for keys. So that's useful as well. You can get sacred water from monsters. They drop it in small amounts. Bosses usually drop larger amounts, so be mindful of that. You can get sacred water from the rewards at the end of each room. Finally, you can get it from boons and relics that have some bonuses that can grant you different amounts of sacred water under certain conditions. There are 5 types of rooms in the Trial of the Sekhemas. First of all, we have the escape room, where you have to disable all the crystals. Whenever you disable a crystal, a light will be emitted and it will fly towards the next crystal. So you can use that as a guide to where you need to go next. In the first floor, you will only have one light being emitted from the crystal, but starting from floor 2, there can actually be more than one light being emitted. So you can just pick any of these lights and follow in that direction. Another hint you have is that if you look at the minimap, you will actually see the crystal once you are getting close enough. So the second type of room is the Chalice trial, and once you enter this room, you will have a chalice that if you click, you will see a flow of blood pointing in certain directions. The blood will be pointing to rare monsters that you have to kill in order to complete the trial. So you won't be able to go to the next room until you kill all the rare monsters. But that's pretty much it about this room. Next, we have the ritual trial. In this trial, there are several summoners and portals. The summoners will stand next to the portals, and if you kill them, the portal will crumble down. You have to keep in mind that as long as the summoners are alive, they will start spawning monsters through the portal. but if you kill them, the monsters will disappear. I believe there's one exception to this, where there's a single portal in the room, and there are 4 summoners on each side.
I shall aid.
And these portals will spawn rare monsters, and even if you kill the summoners, the rare monster will not despawn. So the 4th room type is the Gauntlet Trial. In this one you only have to find the exit. There are several traps and some monsters. It's not mandatory to kill them, but they can be annoying if you are walking around traps. So if you're having issues, make sure you kill the monster first. You can also find some doors on your way, and they usually have some crystals right next to them. These crystals might have a specific color, and they signal which switches you need to activate in order to open these doors. So usually when you find these switches, they could be platforms or levers. They are right next to some sort of crystal as well, with the color that they will turn on once you activate the switch. There are different kinds of traps across the trial, and then mainly depend on which floor you are in. In the first floor you find these flamethrowers that make a cross, and they are constantly rotating. You can also find these spikes that are pretty easy to telegraph, and usually if you are right next to 2 groups of spikes that come up one after another, you can usually just dodge roll from one to the other one and you should be fine. On floor 2 you can also find these flamethrowers that shoot in a straight line, and they usually leave an opening where you can cross from one side to another. If you're confident enough, you can also dodge roll through them. You can also find these fire mines, which they will only trigger if you step into them. It's fairly easy to outrun the explosion. You can dodge roll if you need additional speed. The last type of trap you have on floor 2 are these statues that rotate and slowly throw these projectiles, making a spiral. Yeah, so if you feel confident enough, you can also dodge roll through them, but if you don't, and they are currently blocking your path, you can just wait a few seconds. The thing with this trap is that they also rotate the direction where they throw the first projectile of a series. So these spirals are also constantly rotating as well. And the last thing you have to keep in mind is that these projectiles also have a blast radius when they touch the ground. So try to not be close to them. So try to stay away from them when they land. In floor 3 you will also find these platforms. And once you step into them, they can trigger different kinds of traps. The first type of trap are some poison darts that come from the wells in a straight line. So if you happen to step into one of these, try to check what's the path of the darts, and then stay in a spot where they won't hit you, or you can just dodge roll away from them. And the second type of trap is that they can also release a poison gas cloud, which is really slow, so you can just run away from it. And finally, in floor 4 you can find the same flamethrowers that are on floor 1, as well as some portals that shoot small projectiles through them. They usually make a grid where you can go from one safe square to another one, and so on, until you get away from these traps. And the last trap you have to watch for are these clocks in the ground. If you step into them, they will start a timer, and once the timer ends, they will teleport you back to the trap. There is one instance where these traps are useful. Here, for example, there is a door that cannot be opened unless you step in this trap, and then go to the room next to it and pull the lever. Then you have to wait for the timer to end, and once you are back, you will be able to join the room that has this lever that will let you progress through the room. If you want to see more layouts of these trap rooms, you can check the full run with timestamps down in the description. So the last room type is the Hourglass Trial. In this one you need to pull the lever that's next to the Hourglass, and then monsters will start spawning, and a timer will start counting down. If you kill rare monsters, the time will be reduced. So the more rare monsters you kill, the less time you have to be on the room. Besides from the monster type you get, there are not many differences between different floors. The only thing I will watch out for is that on floor 4 there are these vessels that start shooting projectiles to the sky and then they start falling right where you are. So you have to keep running in order to dodge these projectiles. Other than that, the only advice I can give you is to keep killing monsters, otherwise the room will be filled with monsters that can start damaging your honor. Okay, now I will go over the rewards that you can get at the end of each room. First of all, we have the Shrine of Tavina, which restores 25% of your honor. Then we have the Shrine of Akeli, which restores 20% of your honor, plus it gives you a random boon. A boon is basically a buff that you get to keep during the rest of the trial. Then you have the Shrine of Valvala, which restores 50% of your honor, plus it gives you a random affliction. I cannot recommend to take this one unless you really need honor, like you are almost dying and you really need to restore your honor, because getting a random affliction on the trial, it's pretty bad, since there are some afflictions that can break your run and you won't be able to complete the trial. Then you have the Shrine of Galai, which restores 50% of your honor. It also removes an affliction and gives you a random boon. This is the rarest of all 4, but it's the best one. So if you can't take it, go for it. 2 things you have to keep in mind about shrines is that, for one, you need 5 sacred water to interact with them. And if you don't have any sacred water left, something that can help sometimes is that you can backtrack and see if you left any monsters or sacred water that was dropped by monsters around. Because 5 is a really low amount, so you can probably, if you kill some monsters, you might be able to get it and interact with the shrine. And the second thing is that all the recoveries are based on your maximum honor when you enter the trial before any increases. So if you increase your maximum honor during the trial, the amount you recover will not be greater than what you had initially. Then we have key rooms where we can get bronze, silver, or golden keys depending on the room. After that, we have the treasure cache rooms. Just keep in mind that depending on the type of cache you have at the end of the room, you will need the same key. So if you got a bronze treasure cache, then you need a bronze key. If you get a silver one, you need a silver key, and if you got a golden one, then you need a golden key as well. You can check the icons to know which kind of cache it is. Next we have the Sacred Water Fountain and the Large Sacred Water Fountain rooms, which reward sacred water depending on the size of the fountain. Then we have the Merchant Room. In these rooms, Valvala will be waiting at the end, and we can interact with him in order to trade some of our sacred water for either honor recovery, minor and major boons, but major boons are more rare, of course. He can also have relics. And if you were not able to find any merchant, don't worry, because at the end of each floor, you can interact with Valvala and access the store. And finally, we have the Pledge to Kochai, which basically presents a decision between 3 pledges. These 3 pledges, basically all 3 have an upside and a downside. They can give specific boons and also give specific afflictions. Sometimes you can remove a random boon and remove a random affliction, or they can gain random boons and gain random afflictions. And there are also times where the downside is that you take physical damage. So this physical damage, it is important to know that all your reductions apply to this physical damage, and then your honor resistance is also applied to it. So the final damage your honor takes, it's way lower than it's displayed on the label. So if you have your honor resistance capped, this damage, at most it will be a quarter of what it says if you don't have any physical damage reduction. Next, I will try to go quickly over the boons minor boons and major boons that you can find through the trial. So first of all, I will start with the minor boons. In this case, we have Lustrous Lacquer, which increases your defenses in 50%. One thing that's important is that it's more defenses, right? The wording, it matters because it's not like you are getting 50% increased, but instead it's a multiplier. So yeah, it's pretty noticeable. You can almost double your energy shield you have a lot. Same thing with armor and evasion. And another thing that is very important about this one is that if you are using energy shield and you increase it using this boon, your maximum honor also increases. And if you were low on honor, the additional honor you get is actually recovered, right? Because the actual honor you have lost is kept the same, but your total honor increases. So overall, it can be considered an actual sort of healing because you get extra current honor. Next, we have Upward Path. This one, I think it's situational. If you are having a good run and you already have other boons, for example, if you get this one on a merchant, usually try to grab other boons first that are more useful. If I can, I get this one last. It's very important that every time you purchase this boon, if you do it at a merchant, you do it at the very last because it is removed every time you purchase something from the merchant. If you get this first and then you purchase another boon, you will lose the boon right away and you won't gain anything. But if you are trying to stack as much possible, as much sacred water as possible, for whatever reason, let's say you want to exchange that sacred water at the end for keys, then it's pretty powerful because it's basically composite interest, right? This one, I haven't seen it yet on the game. It might be that the asset is there, but it was never included, or maybe I haven't been lucky enough to get it. But yeah, if you see it, it's pretty good for what it says because you can reroll the merchant options, so you can get, you can hunt for good boons if you can reroll the merchant ones, right? But I haven't seen it on the game. So, and yeah, the reason why you might see a lot of this that might not be on the game, mainly because I got this list from PoE to DB, and this is basically extracted from the game assets, so it might be that it was included and never added to the trial, or is it going to be added later, or maybe never, who knows. But yeah, anyways, so this one it's pretty good, especially if you get it on a merchant, right? Because it's usually cheap. So if there's any other boon that's more expensive than this one, and you want to get the other boon, you can get this one and you will save some sacred water. And if there is a major boon on the same merchant, it's also pretty good, of course, because the major boons are usually almost double of the cost of a minor boon. So yeah, it's pretty good to save some sacred water. This one, well, traps deal 50% reduced damage. It's good if you are getting hit too much by traps, or you usually get hit by traps, or maybe you just want to face tank them because you have a lot of honor resistance and this can help you. I don't know. I guess it's up to you. If you have the sacred water to spare, it's decent, I guess. The silver chalice basically turns any minor boon you are going to get into a major boon, but the only caveat of this one is that a lot of times you take it and then, say for example, you take it last on the store, or you get it from a Marrakech shrine or some other effect, and you get this boon, and then you go to a merchant and you see a minor boon that you really want, and if you forget that you have this one, you're not going to receive that boon. So always try to remind when you have this boon, right? And if you are going to get it from a merchant and get something else right after, make sure that you're getting something that's not useful. I usually take boons that are removed, I don't know, after the next room, or some boons that I really don't care about, and the cheapest ones. So, well, the Fountain of Youth restores an amount of honor when you venerate a Maraket shrine. These are all these shrines where you spend 5 sacred water to gain anything, right? I put 5%. Not 100% sure that it's a 5% of your maximum honor or it's a fixed amount. From what I have seen, I think it's 5% of your maximum honor when you enter the trial. If not, it's something around 170 or something, right? Yeah, I don't really like it, especially because it depends on you going to rooms with shrines. So I don't know. I don't really like it. If you seem to be like using shrines a lot to restore honor, then yeah, it's pretty good. But otherwise, I don't think so. I don't think so. This one, it's you have 25% more maximum honor. I don't like it, mainly because, well, it does increase your honor, and technically all this honor it increases, you also gain it as current honor, so it can be considered a recovery. If you are low on honor, it's good. Yeah, you can take it and it will kind of heal you, but otherwise I don't think it's pretty good. There are better ones. So Mirror of Fortune, this used to be pretty good on Path of Exile 1 when we had divines as rewards, but right now, if you are looking to complete the trial for your ascendancy points, then this is no good, right? Well, then we have the Adrenaline Vial. Again, this the amount is restored. It restores. I'm not 100% sure if it's based on your maximum honor or it's a fixed amount. I have seen variable amounts, or maybe I think I saw them, but it's around 10% of your maximum honor. Otherwise, I have seen like 300 and something on entering a boss room. Again, this one, it's decent. If you are getting hit a lot, then it's pretty good because it will give you some honor back before you fight the boss. So if you don't have much experience with the trial, it's pretty good. Well, this one, it's again, this one depends, right? If you are using, for example, relics with the increased merchant choices or movement speed, this can be pretty good, right? The only thing you have to keep in mind is that if you already have your honor resistance cap, and that's the best stat you have on your relics, this really won't do anything because you already have your resistance cap, right? So not a big fan of this one unless you're doing merchant runs or you're using other powerful relics. This one, it's pretty bad. I mean, not even in Sanctum in Path of Exile 1, where I think it had more sense, right? Because here I think it would be better if it was like rare monsters, but it's actually non-boss monsters, which is pretty much everything, so it probably won't last more than a room, so not worth it. Ornate Dagger, this is pretty good. Dealing more damage means you are going to kill the bosses faster, the rare monsters faster, everything faster. So you will take less damage overall. So I think this is one of the few ones that are objectively good, and you should always try to get it. So unless you are doing crazy amounts of damage, this one it's and even if you are doing it right, it's still pretty good. This one is also pretty good, objectively good. I mean, less maximum life means you will kill faster. It's almost the same as having more damage. So yeah, both of these are pretty good. So this one is good, especially if you are getting hit a lot. This will help you dodge attacks more easily, I guess. This one, well, traps are slower. It is good if you are getting hit a lot by traps because it will allow you to take things more easily. Like there's a lot of people that don't really like this because it messes their timing. So yeah, just keep that in mind. It might help you, of course, if you get the affliction that makes traps faster, right? Getting this one can counter that other one. So this one is pretty good, but you have to keep in mind that it is only good if you get it hopefully at the beginning of the floor or the first half, or if on the second half you have a lot of sacred water fountains that you can take and duplicate that. Never take this boon if you are on Valhalla right after a boss fight. Since you are changing floors right away, this boon will not count for the next floor. Yeah, this one I don't think is good. I usually never take it, or I use it to burn something with the silver chalice, right? So I usually burn like bad boons. In this case, this is one that I consider a bad boon. It can help you, of course, if you are low on honor and you need to reach some point to recover. Yeah, it can help you, right? If you are doing no hit runs, maybe, I'm not sure if it helps. I have never done one, so maybe on those scenarios it's good. Anyways. Okay, this one I think is not very good, especially because, I don't know, a lot of people right now is currently, using ES builds. So with Chaos Inoculation, if you have Chaos Inoculation on, you cannot trigger this. But if you don't, if you actually have, you are using your life, right? There's a trick. You can just put in the life tab support on some skill and start spamming it. It will cost life as well. So you can basically trigger it whenever you want, right? To recover that 50% of honor, right? That's pretty good, right? But if you are running a build with Chaos Inoculation, it's probably not very good. Although if you're critical and you need to recover the honor, you can just portal out and dispec. You can dispec Chaos Inoculation and then just trigger it and then go back in. This one is pretty good as well. I think this is one of the ones that is objectively good almost in any situation, especially if you get it early on, right? If you get this one on the first floor, you're probably going to make it. No joke, because you can pretty much purchase anything from the merchant, right? Unless you get some bad afflictions, which I'll go over later. This one is another one that's objectively good because the trial is all about taking good decisions, and the more information you have about the floor or the rooms you are going to traverse, the better decisions you can take, right? So yep, this is objectively good. So if you can, just go ahead and take it. And if you find yourself using a lot of shrines to recover your honor, of course this is pretty good. Or if you have another boon or relic that has recovery effects, then this one can boost that recovery. So yeah, but if you are confident and you are not losing too much honor, then this is pretty much worthless, right? Well, this one is good. You get more sacred water, 50% more, but it persists. It's not like this one that's it's double sacred water, but it's only on the current floor you are in. This pretty much persists over the whole sanctum, so it's pretty good because it will help you get more boons from the merchant. And since on the sanctum, I keep saying the sanctum, but on the Trial of the Sekhemas, and there are merchants pretty much on every single floor, then yeah, it's I think it's objectively good. If you can, take it. This one, it's pretty good as well. Keep in mind that it might mess your timing with the traps. If you haven't ever taken this boon before and you haven't run the traps with it, just be very careful, right? Because you are going to move a lot faster and you can accidentally trigger some mines or traps, right? But usually one thing you have to keep in mind, if you have hairfoot, especially on those fire mines, you can pretty much run through them and get away before the explosion triggers. The other use that makes this boon pretty good is the fight with the last boss of the trial, because there are some mechanics that will slow you down, and this boon can actually help you complete those mechanics without basically wiping the fight, right? Anyways, the next one is Fright Mask. Monster deal less damage. This is helpful to take less honor damage from bosses and monsters overall, so objectively good. Now I'm going to go over the major boons. So major boons are less common than regular boons. The merchant can also sell them, and you can also get them from shrines that give you random boons, right? This one is pretty good, right? Sometimes it can help you. I mean, one thing with the trial is that the less afflictions you take, the more afflictions are going to be on the pool of afflictions, right? So, for example, if you can avoid an affliction by using this major boon, or you can avoid it by not going into a room, that's pretty useful, because even if it's not a bad affliction, right? It's an affliction that you can take for free. The thing of taking afflictions is that the more you take, the more chances are that you are going to find bad afflictions at some point, that you won't be able to make a choice between the afflictions you have to take, because all of them are bad, right? So you are going to just take the least bad of all three, right? But the least afflictions you have, the least the chances that that situation is going to happen. So that's what makes this one pretty good. It also can help you, for example, if you have a room with a good reward or a bad affliction, this one can actually allow you to go to that room without getting the downside of it, right? So, and it also works on pledges, right? If you have this one and the pledge is going to give you a random affliction or a specific minor affliction, or a specific affliction, this major boon can actually nullify this downside and convert it in an upside, right? Because rather than gaining an affliction, you will gain another boon. So it's pretty good if you can combine this with pledges after all. And yeah, I haven't seen this one personally. If you are doing runs for profit, it's probably pretty good. If you are doing it for the ascension, then yeah, I don't think it's good, right? Unless you are running for profit. This one, it's pretty good as well. If you get it, then you can go to any market shrine and get a boon, and the shrine that already gives you a boon will basically give you 2 boons. So pretty good. All Seeing Eye, also objectively good, right? You can pretty much see everything on the map, right? You can see every room, every affliction, every reward. And it also has the plus that if you take any of the smoke afflictions, the ones that hide rooms, this one will nullify all these afflictions. So even if you are not able to see the room type or the reward type because you had to take those afflictions, if you get this one, you are going to be able to see everything again. So yeah, objectively good. And if you can, always take it. Again, this one's pretty good, right? It's the upgraded version of this boon, and this other boon that basically works during the entire Sanctum trial. So again, get it if you can. This one, extremely good as well. It's basically nullifies all the rooms with afflictions. You can go anywhere you want in the Sanctum. So, and also you can pretty much ignore all the afflictions on the pledges. So this one, extremely OP again. If you lose all your honor, you will revive once with full honor. So Yep, pretty good. Especially if you are struggling with the last boss, this can actually help you a lot. Pretty good overall. Well, this one it's kind of like the other one, but with less honor. So, yep, same as the other one. It lets you continue after failing the sanctum. I mean the trial. This one, I guess it's kind of good. It's not the best ones. If you have to spend a lot of sacred water to get it, I don't think it's worth, right? It will kind of avoid if you are surrounded by monsters. Of course, it can kind of save you some honor loss, right? But just try not to get on those kind of situations, right? And if you have to spend a lot of sacred water just to get this one, I'm not sure if it's the best decision. But again, everything's situational. This one, I think it might be related again with the restoration amount. I'm not sure if it's fixed or related with your maximum honor when you enter the sanctum. I mean the trial. But it doesn't feel very good. I have gotten it like a few times and overall it doesn't seem to recover a lot. Right, I think there are relics that can give you more recovery overall, but yeah, I don't know. I guess if you have increased recovery, it can be more noticeable, but overall, yeah, if you have to spend a bunch of sacred water to get it, then and you have other things to get, I think it's better if you prioritize other things rather than getting this one. The next one, ignore the first damage taken from an enemy hit in each room. Again, I don't think this is very good. Maybe it's good for no hit runs, right? But for other scenarios, I don't think it's very good. Traps are disabled, extremely good, especially if you are having issues with traps, extremely good. This also basically nullifies all the other trap related afflictions, so you have that plus as well. And if you are spending a lot of time dodging or trying to go through traps, it can make you run faster. So yeah, pretty good overall. This one, I don't know. I mean, I don't think if you are struggling with the sanctum, you probably don't want to get hit, so ignore this one if you get it. I think it's situational. If you really want to stack a bunch of sacred water for whatever reason and you know what you're doing, then it's probably good, right? You have a bunch of reductions and you take a bunch of small hits just to stack a bunch of sacred water. I don't know. I guess it could fit on some kind of weird strategy, but if you're struggling, I don't think this is good at all. For a major boon, at least. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the boons. So now I will go over the afflictions. Same as before, I will give a short opinion. So this one, you have no energy shield. It's situational. It can break your build if you're running chaos inoculation. If you have to take it for whatever reason, remember that you can portal out of the sanctum, the trial, and this spec chaos inoculation, that's an option. Of course, you will have to deal with chaos damage, and you're probably not going to have a lot of life, but if it's between that or basically getting a no-hit run, I think it's better to just do portal out and this spec chaos inoculation and at least try to complete the rest of the trial, right? The next one, you have no armor. This one, I guess for 90% of the people, it's pretty good. It's free, right? Because most people is actually running, evasion energy shield. So until armor it's good again, it's probably not going to matter at all. So yeah, anyways, if you build relies on armor, then yeah, of course it's pretty bad, right? But you still have your life, right? Or energy shield, whatever. So overall, with honor resistance, it should be fine anyways, so it's not too bad. You have no evasion. Again, if you rely too much on your evasion to complete the trial, it might be bad. But since the motto is to just not get hit, yeah, try not to get hit, and this one it's basically free, right? The merchant only offers one choice. This one is pretty bad because usually the merchant is the major source of boons you have, right? If you want to have a run with a lot of boons, probably this one it's a no-go, right? So yeah, this one is bad. Especially if you are struggling with the trial, the best choice you have is to rely on the merchant to get a lot of boons and to carry your trial. So this one, try not to get it unless you have no choice, right? 25% reduced movement speed. This one is pretty bad. The slower you move, the harder it is to dodge. So yeah, and the slower the run will be. Try to avoid this one unless you have hair foot, which basically nullifies this because you still get like a 15% increase, right? I'm not sure if it's 15 or I don't know, but you get the point, right? You don't get the downside of this one, right? At least it's not going to be as bad because you will still move faster than usual. So this one, it's objectively bad. Avoid it if you are getting hit too much. This one is not as bad as it used to be on Path of Exile 1 because you can still freeze monsters. Since in Path of Exile 1, freezing was kind of considered to have 0% action speed, and this Affliction basically made freezing monsters impossible. So you with this one now in Path of Exile 2, you can still electrocute or freeze or stun, right? So if you're not getting hit that much and you really know your way around the bosses, then this one is not too bad, right? As it used to be on Path of Exile 1. Well, this one, 25% less maximum honor. I don't mind that much, again, because of honor resistance. So yep, I don't know. This one, to me, it's free. I haven't seen this one personally. I think it can be pretty annoying, but since the motto is to try to avoid getting hit, it might not be too bad. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen it on the game, so let me know in the comments if you see it. This one is basically, it reduces your damage, so it's situational, right? If you're doing fine with your damage and you have the boons that increase your damage, right, and you're confident on it, then go ahead and take it, right? Especially if you have reduced curses effect, right, on your tree or somewhere else, right? Because since it's a curse, if you have reduced effect, the downside is not going to be too bad. This one, I think it's fine, especially if you have hair foot, right? Or if you're not getting hit a lot, then it's fine to take it. And if you have hair foot, and I mean the boon that increases your movement speed, then it's totally fine to take this one. Not too bad because binding chains reduces your movement speed, but if you already have an increased movement speed, that's totally fine. I think this one might be annoying if you take it with this one, with worn sandals. If you have these two, it can be probably a bad idea, right? But otherwise, I don't think it's too bad. Yeah, this one is pretty bad, right? Because every time you use a shrine, you will get an affliction. Just keep in mind these are shrines, not pledges, right? The pledges are these ones where you get 3 choices with an upside and a downside. So, but yeah, anything that gives you random afflictions, it's extremely bad. And the reason why is because you can get something that will break your run. So avoid this at all costs. And if you take it, try to avoid any shrine, right? If you have to take this one, avoid shrines, right? Because you will get random afflictions. Same reason why you usually don't take the shrine that recovers 50% maximum honor in exchange of random minor affliction, right? Same thing, right? So avoid this one. This one again, same thing, extremely bad. Every time you have to take a room, an afflicted room, you will get a random affliction that could break your run. So this one, it's a no-go. Merchant has fewer choices. This is bad. You can take it if you have to. Try to avoid it because same reason as the one that it only has one choice. The least choices you have on the merchant, the least chances you are getting good boons, right? It's not as bad, of course, as the one that only gives you one choice, right? One thing to keep in mind is that even if the merchant has only one choice, it means it has honor recovery plus one additional choice, right? It's not like it's going to give you only the recovery, right? No, it still gives you one choice of a boon, or it might be a relic, right? Worst case scenario. So next one you have, oh sorry, I missing the label, but this basically reduces the effect of your non-unique relics. So this one is bad, and the reason why is because if you have honor resistance, it will reduce the effect of your relics, and you will have less honor resistance, a lot less. So yeah, I mean, this one pretty bad unless you know what you're doing, right? So overall it's pretty bad, I say. This one, you cannot restore honor, and it's removed after killing the floor boss. This one, overall, I think it's free, unless you are usually taking hits during the floor, and you have to take this one at the very beginning, or you are low on honor and you need some source to recover. But overall, I say this one most of the time is free because especially if you get it right before the boss, it's pretty much free, right? Just keep in mind that every effect that, you know, that boon that recovers honor when you enter the boss room will not have any effect, right? Because you cannot recover honor. So, but overall, I say if you get this one, go for this one. This one extremely bad, never take it. It might not be as bad as in Path of Exile 1 because basically since Path of Exile 1 most of the time you were running for profit, this one basically breaks the run, and most of the time you're not going to be able to get the divines. Here it might not be as bad, I have never got it, right? But the problem is that if you are presented with two choices and one has a bad affliction and the other one doesn't, basically you are gambling if you break your run or not. So overall, avoid it at all costs. This one, overall, I'd say it's fine, especially if you have good defenses. If you're running Chaos Inoculation, this is free, right? Because they fixed the bug where you were considered both as full life and low life. So this one is free, so take it if you can, if you are running Chaos Inoculation. And if you have good defenses, you probably won't notice this one, so totally fine. This one also, most of the time, it's free, but it might be a little bit annoying on the escape rooms, especially if you don't know the layouts. You might get lost and actually not find the next crystal. So if you take this one, make sure that you always are paying attention to the lights that fly out of the crystals, because you won't have the minimap. And if you don't know the layout, it might be a bit bad on the floor 3 and 4, where the layouts are kind of a bit more tricky. They are not very straightforward. But yeah, overall, if you know the layouts, or if you have seen them and you don't have any issues with the escape trials, with the crystals, just take it. It's free. This one overall, it's fine, especially if you have armor. I'm not sure if the amount depends on your maximum honor. That's why anyways, I just put the amount that I have gotten like last few runs, but it might be different if you have more maximum honor. or less, right? Anyways, it's most of the time this one is free because especially if you have resolve resistance, because the physical damage is actually reduced by whatever layer of defenses you have and then by your honor resistance. So say for example, if I have no physical damage reduction, I will just take a quarter of this damage since I have my resolve resistance cap, right? So it's a pretty low amount of damage, especially because when I was running this, I had like 3k honor, right? And I was taking, I don't know, less than 25 honor damage, right? So it's completely fine, right? This one, Afflictions are unknown on the trial map. This one is pretty bad because you are basically getting random afflictions. There are situations where you might be able to take this one. One is if you have the all-seeing eye, where you can see all. It basically nullifies this affliction. So if you have it, then you can. It's fine if you take this one. Because you can still see everything. And another exception to this is, say for example, if you are on the very last floor and you can already see the entire path to the boss, and you know that there are no afflictions or bad afflictions, or you know where the bad afflictions are, and you have to take this one, take it, right? You just need to memorize where the bad afflictions were, right? Or define your path before you take this one. But that's a situation where you can actually take this one and it won't be as bad as it should be usually, right? But if you are on first on any other floor, don't take it, right? Avoid this one at all costs because you might end up taking a bad affliction and breaking your run, right? So next one, rewards are unknown on the trial map. Again, this one can be fine. I mean, if you don't care about the rewards and you're pretty comfortable doing the run, right? But most of the time it's pretty bad, right? Because you won't know where are the merchants. If you need sacred water, you don't know where are the fountains, right? Or you know you need to recover honor. You will not be able to tell where are the shrines in order to recover. So every time you pick a room, it will be only based maybe on the room type or the affliction, right? Other than that, you won't be able to select anything, right? If you are already ending if you are on floor 4 and you already have a lot of boons and you feel confident on not taking damage, then it's totally fine to take this. Even if you are in floor 3 and you are having a great run, you probably fine, right? But otherwise, avoid this one, especially at early stages of the trial, floor 1, floor 2, right? This one, again, situational. For me, it's completely free. I don't have any issues with any type of room. I mean, gauntlets overall take more time and are more annoying, I guess, to do, right? Because they are usually longer. If you are struggling with a specific, say for example, you want to avoid gauntlets or escape trials at all costs, then, or a specific room, I don't know, you are having issues with a specific room, then this affliction will make it so you won't see the name of the room. So you won't know if it's a room with traps, a room with a hourglass. That's the downside, basically. So yeah, if you are comfortable with all the rooms, then it's free. Otherwise, just be careful with this one, right? Because you won't know what kind of trial you're going to jump in. Yeah, so basically this one will make you lose all your sacred water when you complete the floor. I haven't tested yet if it's when you change floor, or because if you can still purchase boons from Valhalla after the boss fight, then it's not too bad. But I think the completion is counted as soon as you kill the boss, so it might lose you the sacred water right before you can purchase anything from him. So I'd say overall this one, I will not take it if I can avoid it. Otherwise, You can still purchase things probably if you find merchants in between, but yeah, if you can avoid it, especially on merchant runs, don't take it. This one, it's also bad because it will basically make getting boons more expensive, so you won't be able to stack as much boons if you are relying on the merchant, which most of the time you will be, to be honest, in order to get your boons. So if you can avoid it, of course you can counteract this one with the one that reduces merchant prices, so you will end up having the same merchant prices. So if you already have that one, or you already have a lot of sacred water, then this one doesn't really matter. So yeah, again, situational. This one, you can see one fewer room ahead on the trial. It's bad, objectively bad, because again, similar to the one that allows you to see one more room ahead, the more information you have, the better decisions you can take. This one can actually take you to some dead ends where you have to pick between 2 or 3. So objectively bad. Try to avoid this one. So 50% reduced honor restored. If you are not taking too much damage, this is completely fine. It's something I will take every time. I usually don't take as much damage, and even if I do, sometimes you can try and use more shrines, I guess, to recover more honor. Or maybe if after you get this one, if you want to go back to your honor, to your regular honor recovery, you can just try to grab the boon that increases your honor restore to go back to normal. But overall, not too bad. This one depends on how often you are getting hit. There are monsters that use attacks that do many small hits, right? Or if you are surrounded by many monsters, you can actually die pretty quickly, right? Because it will only take 20 small hits to basically take your whole life. So it's not too bad, but be careful if you take it. Don't get surrounded, and try to avoid any attack that looks like does a lot of small hits, because it can very quickly drain your whole life, right? So, or energy shield. So this one, basically, monsters have more life, they will last longer, right? And this applies to bosses as well. So if you feel like your DPS is lacking, avoid this at all costs, and keep in mind that the boss on the last floor has a lot of life and a lot of resistances. So this one might actually turn the last boss fight into an eternal fight, and you might eventually run out of honor. So if you can avoid this one, please do. Or if you can take it and then you can go to a pledge and try to remove this one before the boss fight, yeah, try to do that, because it's very annoying if you don't have enough DPS. Well, this one, I haven't seen it. It seems like it's I don't know, probably something that's on the client, but yeah, I haven't seen this one. There are no chests, of course, just fountains. Maybe it's fountains no longer grant sacred water, but I haven't seen it personally. If you see it, just please leave a comment. But overall, if it is on the game and fountains don't grant sacred water, then yeah, it is pretty bad. This one, you lose 30 sacred water on room completion. Sorry, I missed that label. This one is bad, but not too bad, right? Early on, it's pretty bad because you don't have too much sacred water, and if you don't have a discount on the prices, it can turn to be very annoying, because you might not gain a lot of sacred water, or you might have difficulties finding or getting to sacred water fountains. Is not too bad, but if you run 10 rooms, it will lose you 300 sacred water. So if you were to reach, for example, the last merchant of the floor with 600, you will have 300 less. So maybe you are only going to be able to purchase one boon, right? If you were unlucky getting more sacred water. So early on, it's pretty annoying. If you can get it later on, it won't feel as bad, because usually if you were able to get some good boons early on, you're not going to have as many issues with sacred water later on. So I usually try to avoid this on floor 1, and mainly floor 1. Sometimes floor 2 if I'm struggling with Sacred Water. But if you're not, just go ahead and take it. It's free on those scenarios, right? This one is pretty bad. It's even worse than the other one, especially because sometimes you take a lot of small hits and you can easily run out of Sacred Water in one room. So rather than gaining Sacred Water after finding a fountain, you might end up losing more Sacred Water than you gain going to some rooms, right? And usually when you have this one, every time I say, okay, I'm not getting hit, I'm gonna take this one, I get hit a lot and I lose all my Sacred Water. So I don't know, I really dislike this one. I try to avoid it as much as possible, especially when doing, again, merchant runs. Yeah, this one is pretty bad. Traps are faster. I will try to avoid this one as much as possible. If there's no other option, I will take it, but it can really make some traps kind of unavoidable. So keep that in mind. If you have very little honor or you are getting hit by traps, avoid this at all costs, right? Because especially the fire traps are going to be a pain in the ass to get through. But if you have to take this one, remember that most of the fire traps you can actually roll through without getting too much damage or any damage at all. So yeah, something that you can keep in mind if you have to deal with this one. And if you can, try to get the wound that make the traps lower or the major wound that disables the trap if you have to get this one, right? If you happen to find a merchant right after this one, try to get that wound, right? Or if you already have the one that makes traps lower, or if they are disabled, this one is basically free, right? Okay, blunt swords, less damage, same thing as the one that increases the life of the monsters. This will basically lower your DPS, your effective DPS. So if you have low DPS, this can make the boss fight of floor 4, the last boss, impossible, right? The fight will be so long that you will either run out of flasks or, I don't know, you will run out of honor because there's a point where it's almost impossible to dodge hits, right? This one, it's very bad, especially if you are relying on merchants to get your boons. Again, same thing as before, right? You need Sacred Water to get them, so try to avoid this one. But if you already have discounts or if you have increased Sacred Water found, then it's not too bad, right? Situational. This one is not too bad, especially if you are not getting hit a lot by traps or if you have a lot of honor. Just be careful because sometimes you might, I don't know, everyone makes mistakes and then you might actually stay still inside a trap and this can actually deal a lot of damage. But most of the time, taking this one should be fine. Unless you are struggling with traps, of course, but if you're not, then completely fine. Hornet Claws, it is not too bad. It can be dangerous. It is not too bad for your honor, right? With honor resistance, like the honor management overall has improved a lot compared with the resolve on Sanctum on Path of Exile 1. But you have to keep in mind that if your defenses are not too good, this affliction can actually make monsters deadlier. So if you take it, be careful, right? Even though you might not be taking a lot of honor damage, you can still die to monster damage, right? You can run out of energy shield or life, right? So be careful with this one. It shouldn't be that bad. So if you ask me, it's the ones that lower your DPS or increase monster health are way worse. Okay, now with the major afflictions, this one of course it's extremely bad, especially if you rely on your energy shield, as most builds today, right? If you only have like life and armor, then I think it's completely fine because especially if you have honor resistance, you can take this one. It's fine, right? Because you still have a big life pool, and honestly armor was not doing too much already, so probably you can get away with your honor resistance. Just keep in mind again that since you don't have armor, you might probably get one shot by some other things, right? Your honor will be fine, but your life might not. So yeah, overall try to avoid this one. And again, most sources of major afflictions are actually pledges, so usually you will see or you will have the option not to take this one, and you won't be forced to take it. So for pretty much all major afflictions you can avoid them all anyways, so they are usually optional compared to minor afflictions, where sometimes you have no choice but to take some. So next we have Glass Shard. This is pretty bad, right? Avoid it if you get it on a pledge. Don't take it because you want to be taking boons on your run, and this means that the next boon you gain will be basically turned into a random minor affliction. The only situation where I will take something like this is if I have the opposite one, which turns the affliction into a boon. Then this one is actually a plus, right? I mean, it's free, right? And if you cannot gain any more afflictions, if you have that major boon, also this one is free. So anyways, next one, Monster Petrify on hit. I haven't seen this one. I'm not sure if it is on the trial. But again, usually these ones appear on pledges, so you can avoid them. You can not select anything on the pledge and keep going. If you don't have any viable choices, you can do that. So don't take this one because it's terrible, because you will be petrified and you will get hit by a lot of other things. So no, don't take it. Too bad. This one again, too bad, because especially because now you rely a lot on resolve resistance. So this will basically make you have 0 resolve resistance. So all the damage you take will make, if you had your resistances capped, then you will take 4 times the same honor damage. So pretty bad. Avoid this one. You cannot gain Sacred Water. This is fine if you get it at some point that you already have a lot of wounds and you don't need more, you don't see yourself needing more, and you have a lot of Sacred Water for the remaining of the trial. So you can take this one. That's fine, right? Especially if on the other hand you have a pretty good major wound, right? Usually when you get major afflictions on the pledges, is because you have a major boon on the other side. So if the major boon is worth it, then this is completely fine. You cannot gain any more wounds. Extremely bad, unless you already have a lot of good wounds. Nothing else to say. So this one, I haven't seen it yet. The only time I see myself taking this is if I ever try the no-hit run, right? Because for obvious reasons, right? Otherwise, never take this one, because the more you try to not get hit, the more likely you are going to get hit anyways. So this one, it's extremely bad. Again, same thing as this one or this one. It's pretty much all these 3, but combined in a single one. You cannot see anything, right? You don't know what afflictions there are. You don't know. I think you still see the purple ring around afflicted rooms. You can still see that, right? But you cannot see what afflictions are in there. You cannot see what rewards are in there. And you cannot see the room type you are going to enter to. So this is awful. Avoid it at all costs, unless you're on the last floor and you already see the rest of the map, right? You know which path are you going to take. You can afford to take this one, but otherwise, don't take it. Cannot restore honor. it's not too bad, especially if you are managing fine around the sanctum, around the trial, you're not getting hit too much. And or maybe, I don't know, you are ending the trial already and you feel confident, you can take this one. But keep in mind that you won't be able to restore any more honor. So yeah. And always please always remember that the last fight of the trial, if you haven't made it before to the last fight, the boss has a lot of HP and a lot of resistances, so it will take a lot of time. Even though it doesn't hit too hard, if your DPS is not good enough and you reach the fight with low honor, then you might actually fail the trial, because the fight will be too long and you will eventually get hit enough to lose all your honor. So if it's your first time fighting the boss, avoid taking this one and try to reach the boss with full honor if you can. This one is fine, especially if you have physical damage reduction. I put 30% because that's about the damage I have seen. So I think it's 30% maximum honor as physical damage after you complete 8 rooms. Otherwise, if it's not 30%, it's probably flat 1,000 something, right? I think last time I got 1,400 physical damage, which is not too bad. Again, for the same reason as this taking physical damage is not too bad, and that's mainly because if you have physical damage reduction, that's applied to the damage, and also after that the honor resistance is also applied. But of course you have to keep in mind that this damage can also kill you, so you have to remember that after completing the 8th room you will receive this damage, right? So make sure you are top, that your life is full, right? Or whatever, right? So this damage doesn't accidentally kill you, right? Because it can happen. So yeah, and if you're running low on honor and you want to make sure that it doesn't fail your run, make sure that before this, before you complete the 8 rooms, you fill your honor on using whatever means you have available, right? Yeah, traps deal triple damage. This is very bad, especially if you are getting hit by traps. But if you have the major boon that disable traps, this one is free to take. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah, that's about it. It was longer than I expected. Anyways, so as you might have noticed, the thing with most of the boons and afflictions is that they are very situational. There are some of them that are objectively good, like Hairfoot, that you can move faster, right? You do more damage, those are always good. Monsters have less life, right? If you can get more sacred water, those ones are good overall, right? But if you have to take a decision between them, it's pretty situational, and it also depends on the person that's running the trial. I know it might sound silly, but after you run it a few times, you will find yourself liking some things more than others, right? So even if I give you any advice, it might not be the best for you, or your build, right? It also depends on your build. So overall, the trials are pretty cheap. The coins are pretty cheap. So if you're having issues, try to check my strategy guide on how to mainstream the trial, and I will be leaving the link on the description, so check that one. And yeah, in the end, only practice will make you better at this, but it can be overwhelming initially. I hope this was helpful, and now I will go over the different boss fights that you can find.
Steel yourself.
Okay, so the first boss fight is fairly easy. You have to watch out for the AoE attack he does at the very beginning of the fight. You need to wait for the third explosion to end in order to get in, right? It is possible to freeze it at the very beginning of the fight if you have enough DPS and then kill it before he does anything. But overall, yeah. In the first phase of the fight, he only does all these AoE attacks, or melee AoE attacks, and eventually he also uses this attack which creates two features, and then two volcanoes come at the end of the features and start shooting projectiles, right? It seems like the less health it has, the more often he does this attack. But overall, for the first phase, that's all there is with this boss. So he just repeats this thing, and he can also repeat the AoE attack he does at the very beginning. You need to watch out there for the dialogue that Valhalla says. He says it burns, and then he will do the AoE attack. So you can get away and away from him, and then wait until the third explosion finishes. And then he doesn't do anything new until you take it below 50%. About 50%. Not sure exactly what it is. And for the new attack he has, you also need to watch out for the dialogue of Valhalla. Here it says beware of what falls, and then you can see that there are these small whirlwinds of dust that appear on the map, and they just mark where the debris will fall. So you just need to watch out and don't get hit by the debris, and then that's it. But that's the new attack he gets once he's low on life. So yeah, just remember to watch out for the dialogues of Valhalla and you should be fine. So for the second boss fight, you will be fighting two bosses, one with a mace which uses ice attacks, and the other one which launches fire attacks with their fists. You have to be careful with the zone cues, right? Whenever they will use an AoE attack, you will hear those zone cues, right? Yeah, there for example. And they are fairly simple at the beginning when they haven't taken any damage. The boss with the mace will use this ice AoE attack, and then the other boss will use that fire attack in a straight line. So they are fairly easy to dodge. Just listen for the zone cues. And then when they get to low life, they have one additional attack each one. The one with the mace will hit the floor twice, and then multiple circles will appear, and then some icicles will pop from the ground. And then the attack that the fire one gets, it's basically he stomps the ground with the foot, and then he shoots 3 projectiles in a cone, and you can actually dodge it either by getting behind him, or you can get away and then just stand in between, since he launches 1 straight and 2 diagonal, so you can stand in between. And then ideally what you want to do is you want to kill them almost at the same time. The reason why is because once you kill one, the statues on the border of the arena will start launching attacks based on the element of the one you killed, right? And then the other one will get empowered. Actually, if you wait for too long before you kill it, it will completely heal. And then each one, when they are in low life in this stage, will get a different new attack. In this case, he does an AoE that basically covers pretty much half of the arena. So yeah, just watch out for that. Try to kill them at the same time. If you have enough DPS, it shouldn't be any issues. And yeah, just keep in mind that if you kill one, then the other one, if you wait for too long, the other one is going to completely healed. So watch out for that.
Beware
Okay,
the
so for the
scorpion's
third
sting.
boss fight, you will be fighting this scorpion. Nothing very remarkable. He just does this tail attack and then a few melee attacks that are easy to dodge. And then when he rolls, he steps on its tail and then shoots his projectiles. You have to watch out for the puddles because they actually do damage over time. And then he goes into the ground and starts jumping around the arena. The only thing you have to watch out here, I usually just run around, dodging, and watch out for the quicksand he leaves behind because it actually slows you down. So yeah, that's very annoying. And in order to get rid of the debuff, you need to walk out of them and then just keep walking, right? The other thing you need to watch out in this fight is these platforms. They are basically just traps. Same as in the other rooms of the third floor. They will either spawn a gas cloud or darts from the wall. So yeah, and try to ignore the dialogue from Valvala because he actually says to the platform. I'm not sure if he is kind of trolling or what, but yeah, basically if you go to the platform, you will trigger the traps. So yeah, just ignore him. It doesn't seem to do anything with the boss. Yeah, so besides from that, there's nothing remarkable on this fight. I don't think the boss gets any new attacks when he's below, when he's on low life. I just waited for a while and I didn't see anything new, so I will just assume that there's no new attack. If you know of a new attack he does on low life, just let me know in the comments. Okay, so last boss fight. This one, you have to remember that it's kind of a DPS check. The boss has a lot of HP and he also has energy shield. So keep in mind that if you stop hitting it for a while, he will recover the energy shield. So try to keep your damage steady. Yep. He usually goes underground and then reappears somewhere else on the arena. He throws these projectiles, which don't really hit that hard, especially if you are in melee range. Same with the projectiles that spawn from the portals. They don't do much damage. So if you're fine on Honor, just keep doing DPS. You don't really need to dodge. You're fine. So besides from that, he does this attack where he goes into the middle of the arena and then starts shooting these beams all over the arena, clockwise. If you step in any of those circles, you will get petrified and you will obviously get hit by this attack. This one does a little bit more damage than the rest ones, so just watch out and try to not get petrified. But overall it shouldn't be easy to watch if you just walk to the corner. And then this he does this, he throws that bow, right? Which basically just slows you down. So you can just dodge roll out of that AoE. And should be fine. Now he does this mechanic. You have to do it well. Basically he spawns this clock at the center of the arena and these hourglasses. The more time you spend without consuming a hourglass, the more slow you become. So keep that in mind. So try to grab them. I mean, I didn't do it correctly there. It's better if you grab the ones that are closer to each other, right? And then you go for the ones that are further away, right? Also, if you don't complete the mechanic before the clock does the whole turn around, I mean before it completes the circle, then you will basically fail the trial because he just appears and taps your shoulder and you are done. So yeah, be careful with that mechanic. So besides from that, yeah, there he throws that AoE again, and now he goes with the beam attack, right? You can just stand on the corner, or you can walk around and dodge the small traps, right? But it's kind of hard to do that. And yeah, once he's low on life, he will also start doing an additional attack, which is similar to that one. It's similar to the traps that are on the fourth floor rooms, where after the clock finish one turn, then you will be teleported back to him. So, or where you were, basically, when he throws the AoE. And he also started launching these kind of needles that spin around the arena. And then now he repeats the same mechanic. He does it twice on the fight, I believe. So yeah, this time I did it better, right? So as you notice, if you basically try to grab the ones that are closer to each other, then you will finish it fairly quickly. You can also use Blink if you have it, of course. But yeah, overall, if you have the DPS, this fight will be no issues at all. And that's why you want to also try to get the less life, the more damage wounds, right? And avoid, if possible, the ones that give more HP to the boss and that reduce your damage, right? Or if you can, just go to a pledge and see if you can remove it. That's also a great idea right before the boss. So yep, that's pretty much it. Okay, so to wrap up, I just want to give you guys a few tips that can be helpful during your runs. Always try to avoid taking paths that lead to a dead end. And what I refer to this is that initially you can only see 2 rooms ahead, right? So whenever you choose a room, try to check the path that it leads to, because eventually there are some rooms that end up on a single choice, right? So you will eventually, if you keep moving for the same path, you will reach a point where you can only select one room. And if you can't see, if there's an affliction on that room, you cannot see what is on that room, you need to be very careful, right? Because you could potentially lead yourself to a point where the only choice you have is to take an affliction that will break your run. So yeah, be extremely careful with that. So the third tip will be that you can port out of the trial. If you already finished the room, you can just portal out and then you will get to select the next room again if you go in. So if you want to trade, that's fine. You can just portal out and there are no issues. Try to complete the room first, of course. If you accidentally click on the wrong room, as long as you don't enter the room, you can portal out and then go in again, and you will get to decide to which room you want to travel to. And yeah, the last tip for the last boss is make sure that you have your mana issues resolved, because if you don't have like an extremely high DPS, then you're going to start having issues with your mana if you don't have enough mana recovery or enough mana leech. So make sure that you solve those issues before and then go in. And the main reason why is because eventually you might end up using all your mana flask charges, and then your DPS will drop so much that you will barely be able to do any damage, and eventually he will deplete your honor just by getting small hits, especially because the amount of projectiles and attacks in the arena start increasing when he's low on life. But overall, that's it. Don't worry about wiping the trial. Gene barayas are not so expensive that you cannot do multiple attempts. Even if you fail, you'll probably get a few exalts from one run from the rare monsters, so that should be enough to get another coin if you fail. So I hope this video was useful, and if it did help you, remember to like and subscribe. And also, if I missed anything, make sure that you let me know in the comments so I can potentially add some notes on the video. And yeah, that's it. Remember, if you need a strategy guide on how to make the trial run easy, check the links on the description. I will be leaving a strategy guide in there, as well as a full run with timestamps in case you want to watch something specific. Thanks for watching. See you next time.